Welcome to Living with Intuition Coffee Chats, your source of real perspectives, insight, and humor from down-to-earth, kick-ass intuitives. Join Lindsay from Super Secret Powers and Andrea from A Soul's Journey with Andrea as we delve into today's coffee chat. Okay. So hello, everybody. It has been a while since I've been on, but welcome back to you're fine. I was actually just trying not to hit your chair. There we go. So, but welcome back to Living with Intuition Coffee Chats. I have my coffee. Andrea has her coffee, and we are set. And I am Lindsay Baldessano, and this is Andrea Dabrowski. I haven't been on for 2 weeks.
No, I did one with Melinda, and then I did one alone last week.
Yeah, no. Just my husband is going through a cancer journey right now, and last week was his first chemo treatment. Was that? Yeah, that was
the first.
Week.
Yeah,
that was last week.
August 1st.
It seems like it's been a whole month.
Yeah, it's a day that will go down in infamy.
Oh, it was a wild ride.
Yeah. It was.
But he is finally feeling a little better. So that's good. That's good. And we start again next week, but I have higher hopes for next week because now I know better what to expect. And he knows better what to expect. And that's, half the journey in life
Right.
is realizing that you can keep going even if you don't know. I mean, you can do some research, you can help yourself out, you can help ease your brain out, emotionally regulate like that, but you don't know until you walk it.
Yep.
So here's to walking it. But happy Lionsgate. I know that was yesterday.
But we're still in the portal until the 12th, so
Yeah.
So the energy is intense yet.
Yeah. And yesterday, I know I did a whole bunch of self-care because things weren't popping for me. My whole body felt like it was in a cocoon, so to speak, which is weird because I know my intuition was doing stuff, right? Like big time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like seeing and hearing and like feeling it, but heart wasn't open.
Right.
None of my personal stuff was open, no matter how much activation stuff I did out of the free stuff out there. And if you're in the Queen of Your Inner Realms membership, I did post some of that stuff that I did do yesterday. Yeah. What did you end up doing?
Well, I mean, the last 2 days, yesterday it kind of popped. So the 2 days before that, I was just like so dead tired. I could sleep and sleep and sleep. And then when I was like a zombie when I was up, and I just couldn't think. Like I was thinking, like she said, I mean, it was all going in there, but I was like this dizzy, unfocused in this reality kind of thing going on. And then yesterday around like dinner time, it popped for me. And then all of a sudden I just like, oh, it's just, I know that I should just follow that gut feeling with it. If I need to sleep more. If I just need to veg for a little bit and just like let it all settle in here, just do it. Because I still sometimes don't know how I did it when I was a full-time counselor with like a 12-hour schedule every day, with not too many breaks except with weekends, and sometimes even then I had to make up hours or something. It's like, so I don't know how I actually survived these high intensity times without like totally falling apart at the seams at work or something. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that maybe even the clients or somebody would think that I was like zoned a little or too quiet compared to my normal upbeat, loud personality. But I don't know how I did it for 18 years working in such a high intense job that kept me moving and always traveling to a new client and having to be active in whatever they were doing and just being on all the time. Because now that I, just when I'm a house sitter, you have time to do what you need to do also. It's like you take care of everybody else, but then there's some downtime and you can process the things going on in you. And if you need a nap, the dogs will lay with you and take a nap. You got pet therapy 24/7 when you house sit, and you have nature around you. And it's just like, it's such a more it just comes naturally now, but I cannot imagine how, I don't know how I was. Maybe that's why sometimes you feel like you're crazy. Like you go through periods in your life when you just think you're totally like insane and don't know, like everything feels like it's out of control. And that's probably the way I was handling it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've had like retrograde summers now for a couple years, where a lot of our retrogrades have fallen during the summer months.
Right.
So when you were working, how were your summer months?
I was still at day camps. I was still working full time. I instead of going to schools, I went to camps, and they were even more active because we were outdoors and they were doing activities, and I followed them around and everything.
And I think that helps with being outdoors. And
yeah, definitely. I couldn't wait for summer to come because I like going to the lakes, to the camps and stuff that they went to. And I always seem to have more boy clients than girls. And I'm like that tomboy kind of person who wants to be outside doing things and playing ball and, and I think that probably helped me a lot. That's another kind of self-care. Because I mean, you're getting out there, you're getting exercise, you're being in nature, you're being near water. The kids in the summer aren't so stressed out about their schoolwork, so they're a little bit more upbeat. And I think you could flow better through those intense times when you have that kind of feel.
Yeah.
Compared to being in that classroom all the time, dealing with the teachers and then going home to with the clients' parents and everything. And there's so much stress everywhere, and being an empath, just trying to keep that from, soaking in too much was hard enough. And then you get all these other intense energies and the moon and everything else going on. I don't know how I think that's probably why I go to bed so early. I've always been this morning person. And then by like 3:00, I'm just like winding down. And by like 9:00, I'm going up to bed. I'm like, because I just feel like, that's the way I handle it too.
Well, that's something I've always struggled with. I always feel like I'm never quite myself. And I'm always partially in this question mode. I won't say self-doubt anymore, but question mode, because I have always been somebody who I've always been a night owl. Just like that is always who I was. That is when I felt most awake, most aware, most myself, most okay, I can finally take a breath and be me. And it's hard because society is not designed for that. Sorry, it's not. Even if you're working from home, it's still not. Because most people are kind of conditioned to think that like all the business stuff should be happening during the daytime. So you have to be awake and alert. I mean, even if like you're still taking evening hours because you're like a practitioner and you're doing some kind of session work, like people still like, they might not be able to get off for lunch, but they'll still come for dinner. And by dinner, you're only like, if you're a night owl, you're only like maybe like 5 hours into your work day. Maybe. I'm being generous. There are days I still wake up at 2 in the afternoon.
Yeah,
depending on how I slept. If I slept better, I wake up a lot earlier. But but now being an empty nester of sorts, I mean, we still have one kid living with us. Another kid is going to come and move in again in December, but they're adults. And especially with my husband, it's just better. It's better for us to have more family around, more support network, right? But once I finally hit that empty nester stage where I didn't have to chase people down to make sure that they were up in the morning and ate something, right. and still got the bus on time, I used to try and go back to sleep. It only works like maybe 35% of the time. But yeah, that was hard. That was so hard. That was like death to me. That was honestly like death.
But your daughter's like on the same kind of schedule as you. You both have always been. It's just really hard to wake up.
And since a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And since, like, that's why I'm like, I don't know if I don't know how much of this is choice I don't know how much
Yeah.
of this is habit, and I don't know how much of this is pre-programmed into
Right.
us.
I mean, my mom, since I was in high school, got up at 4 a.m. and she would have breakfast, lunch, and dinner made before I even got up for school. She'd feed me and then get me off to school and then go to work for 8 hours and then come home, and she crashed by like right after dinner. She could, she served dinner and then she'd go up on the couch, we'd be watching TV, and she'll be out cold. So that's the way I feel like that I got that from her.
Yeah.
Because we've always been morning people like that. We do our best, we think the best. Before she even gets up, I have all my stuff for business done, posted, scheduled, whatever, and journaled, and did all my rituals for the morning, get everything. And by the time she gets up, I'm like, maybe I should go take a nap.
And I'm like,
Like,
let me get my coffee and my supplements, and I'll be with you in an hour.
I some journal before you. So we have this short little window where we're overlapped and both in that, still in that like thought mode that we can actually do work together. That's what I'm always sending her texts and stuff. I says, I know you're sleeping, but I have to say this. I'll forget later.
But coming to that point, we have to honor that stuff, because it's just like, it's just what your body needs.
Yeah.
And it seems like such an easy and fundamental and like common sense thing to say, but I really feel like there's a lot more understanding that needs to happen, even on this societal workplace kind of level, where like not everyone is designed to do that. Not everyone is designed to be 9 to 5, and their body energy just doesn't work that way. Not even to like not kick the butt, but like to stir up the stuff about neurodivergency. I mean, it's such a real thing, and yet we still think people have to fit these molds.
And it's so, I mean, and when we were left to our natural way of doing things flow so much better. Like, I don't have that 9 to 5 job. Well, it wasn't 9 to 5. It was like 7 a.m. until like 8 p.m. I mean, kind of thing.
With travel in between.
With travel, because you went from school, seeing all your school clients to seeing all your home clients. And sometimes they worked, and sometimes you had to wait, and you had to go later because you had to wait for them to be home. And so it's like, these 12-hour days that just wore on me over 18 years of doing that day after day after day. And it's like when I took vacations, I got so off schedule that it was so hard to come back to, because that you're so used to not being relaxed, you're just in that mood, and that's what society programs you to be in, that go. This is, you have to make the money this way, it has to be fast, it has to be, you give up everything else to make sure that you have that money. And it's like, no, I'm doing it a different way, and it feels so much more natural, and it comes like, the business comes naturally too. It's like, it's not forced anymore. It's not like, it's just like I get new clients that I didn't even really pitch for, I get people who recommend me and everything, and I don't have to work as hard to make that buck. Like,
I never had the transition. because mom had to be my first role for the years we had.
Oh yeah,
all the minors. Not just because of mom, just because moms are important, of course they are, but because half the time I was a single parent. My husband would be out of state for work, and it was just like, I have to make sure 3 kids stay in school. Like, do you know? Right. Nobody knows how hard that is, or very few people want to recognize that unless you're already in some kind of mental support group or role.
When you play both roles, and you have that kind of schedule that your body doesn't want you to be up those hours, but those are the productive hours when you have to get them to school. Then you have to make sure they come home from school and do their homework, and they eat. Right, yeah. So, but you pray for a snow day, It's like, oh, thank God, I can go back to bed now.
But the stuff about being natural to your own body cycle and how you're handling things and how you're pushing yourself to have to be in an on mode when you don't feel like being, that's been a Lionsgate thing for me. And like intuitively, what's just been popping in my mind and popping, like low hanging fruit kind of stuff is just, what kind of business improvements can I make to make this just an easier process? Because I can't, I can't spend 10 hours working on marketing posts or strategy. Like, that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. And you were overthinking it if that's what you were doing. Because that's what I'm doing.
Because you go into it, you don't come out for a while. It's like, oh my God, she's been writing for hours now.
Well, a lot of times I'll batch it. So if I'm doing a batch day, or if I'm realigning content with what is available for like download, and I have to change a page, then I have to change an email, then I have to, that stuff I need to be really, really focused for, so I can just pump it out and get it done. But it's just been like part of, and that's been coming up, and boundaries have been coming up big time. And just listening to my husband go through his changes with his own journey here, it's been like, all right, we need to hold some different boundaries, because right now that is very triggering and I want to kill him.
and on the other side of that is like trying to be like your 100% for him, because you know that he needs extra, like when he's not on bad days, when he's really in a lot of pain and all, and you want to make sure you're alert and you're on top of things, and that you're there to help him do the things he really can't do at that point. And it's like, but then you have things going on inside you, and it's all like you're trying to contain your emotions because you're seeing him that way, you're feeling him that way so deeply, and trying to do that self-care so that you stay your best, because if you're not doing good either, then you can't help him. So it's like this battle about, it's like where those boundaries are, where I have to make sure that I can step back and I can regroup a little bit, even if it just means going out. I go on the back porch a lot on those, especially those bad days, and I'm like, just, you have to release it. Don't take all his energy with you, because I tend to do that with him. It's just him.
When I bring it back to Lindsay language, it's just like, I don't believe it. It's not that I don't believe that is his experience. Of course, I believe that's his experience. I mean, you can't dismiss somebody like that.
Right.
But I don't believe it in that is the only truth. I don't believe that it is always going to be that way, that we can't break through the pain. This is just, let's say, a symptom of what he's going through right now, and now we have to find a way to balance that. That's my way of mentally stepping back.
I feel like it's like a phase.
I hear that, I hear it, I hear what you're going through.
It's only like a phase. We're gonna get through it,
but I can't take that in. I can't take that in if you expect me to be here 2 hours from you. Not because I'm mean and I leave them, but because I have a breakdown.
Exactly.
Because then I would start mirroring that pain. Because I catch myself, especially with the people I'm closest to. I catch myself if they're talking about this, then 2 hours later I'm like, oh, oh, there goes my stomach, or oh.
I just try to I try to say that it's a phase. The first treatment was a phase because nobody knew what to expect at all. But now we have a little bit more knowledge, and it's not the fear of the unknown anymore. It's how we can regulate him so that he gets his nausea medicine, or the right kind of medicines to help him so he's not sick, or and we know that it's going to get better because he's going to feel better. The treatment's working, we can see it working, and we have to stay in that frame of thought too.
And then another layer of that caretaking that you find you do, even if you don't want to, even if you're tired, is then you have to get them to believe it too.
Right. And that's the hard part. Really.
To believe that things can change, that things are changing.
Right. Because they're in a different world with it,
Because so many times empaths and sensitives are coming into my work and our group and our Unleash program that we're going to do, or the free masterclass experience that we're going to do. And they're like, well, how do I talk to people? How do I get people to do what I want them to do? Not in the manipulative way,
Right.
but how do I communicate half of what I'm experiencing and seeing so that I can create change? And of course, it's always come back to a place that you can agree with. So for me, it's just been the repetition of, oh, look, this is different than what it was last week. This is different than it was 2 days ago.
The little victories. I always say, it's the little things that matter, and you have to notice them in order for you to see the change gradually.
Yeah. And it doesn't, at least in my experience, and it could be very different from Andrea or anybody else, but this is why we're here. For me, it never seems to work if I go like over the top, or if I go like full into like true believer mode. Like, oh, this means like let's not talk about cancer for a minute. Because we're using that example, and really it's an example. We're not like just because we're living it, right? I'm sorry.
What are you saying?
Yeah, example of what? Not cancer. Oh, right, because it was so easy to slip into that mode of wanting to believe that every single thing will work out just because we've had a little bit of result.
Right. And I tend to overdo it with that. I go I go mad when I see something happening and I get excited. I get so excited over the little things happening, and then I go too far with it, and then I feel disappointed when I jump the gun a little bit. And then I'm trying to learn to sit back and just wait. Well, it's hard for me to do that though. I just like to act.
It's not even for my own disappointment that I come at it from. It is much harder to convince somebody who is a non-believer in that sense to whatever you're trying to get them to agree to. That one little infinitesimal improvement means all that.
Right.
Because they're not in your brain seeing the things and having the clickety clicks as everything falls together. They don't see all that.
See, I go right there. It's like I see see everything turning out well. I see everything happening in the best of ways. No, that's not the way it's gonna go. No,
I feel it, but we have to get you have to get people on board at such a basic level that you're probably maybe even taking for granted.
Right.
Because I feel like our perception of the high vibe world around us, the vibrational world around us, just the base concepts of living from that position are missing for people who aren't awakened yet.
Right.
And so
we forget that. It's so natural for us, and this is just the way we are. And it was a wake-up call for me. The world I thought I lived in before I got divorced, and what I went through during the divorce and after, and how my perspective of people and their own journey has changed so much, because I realized that my reality is not theirs. And sometimes it could be more than total opposite. It's like otherworldly, the way people react to things, what they believe in the end is so out there compared to what you think. It's like when I think of things, I'm always positive. For the divorce stuff, I was trying to get a consciously uncoupling thing going, and all these wonderful things. And I thought we were all going to be friends when it was over and stuff. And it turned out, oh my God, no, that's not how it turned out. And it's just and to me, then that's like the downer sometimes, because I think so highly of people, and that their concept of life is going to be like mine, and that they're going to be that hopeful, and have that grand picture that I have in my head of everybody being virtuous and good and doing the right thing and stuff. And then when you find out people don't do that, it just like you sink. I literally, after that, all that happened, I just sunk. I felt like I was drowning for a long time. It's like, what is this world that I'm living in then? That nobody understands? Am I not speaking English? It's like I really, really thought I was going like insane. I'm like, nobody is. Am I talking Spanish or something? What the hell? I'm like, well, why don't you understand what I'm saying? Why can't you comprehend what I'm trying to get at? This is for the good of all. Everybody's going to work. It's going to work out good for everybody. But it just never came across that way. It was like, you crazy bitch, shut up. It's like, that's the reactions I got from my family, well, my in-laws and all. It's like, that's the way I felt. Like I was the crazy one when I left. And I'm like, no, I was the same one.
See, I don't talk about it with family. And I don't think politics should be talked about by families either.
No.
Anything that has to do with what you truly believe, I don't know. I mean, maybe this is old school. Maybe it's because we're like, we're Gen Z. We grew up before the internet. But like, some things are just too private. So yes, come out of the broom closet, like worker closet, whatever. To be yourself.
Mhm.
But
Can't fix people.
when it comes to the family you couldn't choose, when it comes to the family you couldn't choose, yeah, you can't fix them. It's not your thing. It's like this little collective group. You can participate to a degree, you can participate or not, depending on what the relationship is like.
I learned that the hard way.
Put in your own individual contribution from your own perspective. I mean, you certainly can do that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you certainly can negotiate from your own place of how you see things differently, as long as you're not trying to force people to believe what they
Right.
want to believe. But but there are some things that are just too private.
And you'll never be on the same page ever. Like,
we'll sooner talk to the whole internet about what we think and who we are and what we
Right.
believe than I will to my father. Not because I don't love him, but because I respect where he is. I see where he is. And my job as his kid right now, and his only kid, is just to make sure that he's okay. That he is living his best life as he can at 81 years old. I don't need him to join my wokeness. Like, I don't. It's taken me a while to realize that.
Yeah.
I mean, in my 20s, I was just
because it's this
you
thing
don't
about
see
being
me.
accepted, and because you want that that comfort, knowing that they appreciate where you are in life and that you're doing a good job with life, and you want all those compliments from your parents and everything. And sometimes you just they're not on that same vibe with you. So you have to just be okay with the fact that that you've had accomplishments in your life, who you are, and you're proud of who you are. And that's the part that matters the most, not what anybody else thinks. In the end, it's
it changed when I was able to live from my own sense of pride and my own sense of pride in myself and light, not just pride in the family. Because believe me, Spirit had lots of lessons about taking pride in being like this great family kind of stuff, and said, like, listen, you're just dealing with people, treat them like people, and not like this isn't like Leave It to Beaver.
And I think that's society wants you to think that it's like that, but it's just plain old simple not. And when you finally realize that that's okay, then you can move on. You can move, and just be you.
And so in a way, it makes life
more freeing.
Yeah, simpler. I was going to say, to not have to believe that they're actual. I mean, yes, there's
there's standards, but it's not like archetypes. It's not like you have to cram yourself into this box. It's just,
There's too much pressure on us out there. And once you get past that and realize that you don't have to be the social norm, you don't have to, it's like, I don't have a 9-to-5 job, and a lot of people don't take being a professional house sitter seriously. It's like, why don't you just get a 9-to-5 job? It's so much easier. I'm like, no, I'm fine. I'm good. It's like an Airbnb life and stuff is so like, oh my God, you need to get a house. Well, when I had a house, I was never home. I was in other people's houses watching dogs.
She had an apartment for her cat.
Right. My mom was my house sitter. She went from her house to my house and sat with my cat and watched TV. And I was paying how much rent for that?
I know. Not really worth the experience, was it?
It's like, now I love to travel. I love being a house sitter, and everything works out for me much better this way.
If I could live on a cruise ship, I would.
Yeah.
But right now we have 2 big dogs, and really that's about it. Well, no, and my dad will live on the cruise ship with us, but I don't know. He still needs his house, yeah, because he still needs to have hobbies other than me sitting there with them at a table.
Right. Or he likes to cook, and he's always making stuff.
He needs to have his own life, and that wouldn't happen, I think, if we
Right.
were on a cruise ship together. Yeah. So I mean, we're talking about caretaking boundaries. We're talking about caretaking where you're spending your time,
Mhm.
so that you aren't killing yourself.
Right. And that self-talk, it's like being okay with yourself, being kind to yourself, so that that little voice in your head isn't like pounding you because with all that negativity, even though you're preaching positivity on the outside. It's what counts is what's inside here. And like when you're in the car and you're not really talking, but you're thinking about a million things that you did wrong in life or something, that's the kind of stuff you have to watch and stay in tune with, so you can change that up as soon as you hear it coming, because I think that's probably the where the self-care comes in the most.
Mhm.
It's not, whether you sit in a bathtub or have meditation music on, or you're walking in nature, which is all great. And that is self-help, it's self-care. But minding your mind, I think, is the hardest thing to do and the most necessary.
And sometimes it doesn't even look like work.
No.
And I think that's where it gets a little deceptive,
Right.
where you think you're not doing anything, but you're really doing the most important work, because you're, by tending your mind and your mental bodies and your emotional bodies, like we're speaking energetically here, as in the subtle energy system. I mean, that's 2/3 of your foundation, maybe a little bit more or less, depending on what system you're looking at for that. But that is a big portion of just your reality right then and there.
So and it's where your confidence and stuff comes from, your self-worth comes from. It really it makes you who you really are, what you're thinking inside. I really believe that's because that's your higher self talking. You're talking, and those conversations you have with your higher self, if they're not positive, then some shadow work needs to come to play.
Well, if that's what's coming out of your higher self, it's probably not your higher self, because your higher self would certainly put things differently in a way that would be more
right,
leading you through the journey than it would. Then it's probably just your inner critic hijacking your time. And like, you need that level of discernment, and that's where things like this come into play. The talks, the support, having like a membership space you can go to, which is what we're launching.
It's more private, safe, and open for these kind of deeper discussions,
so that you have that third party, you have that ability to lean into somebody else's objectivity for a minute, to see your own situation a little differently, to see, and especially if you're talking to intuitives, especially to see if you're vibing right with the message, because
Right.
that's really how we would do like discernment around, like, are you in alignment with this or
Right.
not? To help you find your own clarity, not because we want to tell you what's right or wrong, or
Right. No, it's not about that.
we're about making sure that you can do it yourself.
Right. Teach you the skills you need to be able to handle it on your own. But but having a nice little community where you can go to is nice to have.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't have that. You might be the only one in your group of friends, family, coworkers, whatever, and you have nobody to talk to because nobody relates.
Yeah.
And then you're afraid to say it, on your Facebook page or something, because there are critics out there. And it's just,
or maybe you're far enough down your path that people are starting to come to you for explanations and for clarifications and for validations, and then you have nobody at your level, or maybe even a deeper level.
Right.
Somebody maybe just been practicing longer to help support you
right,
and help make sure that you aren't
overwhelming yourself.
overwhelming yourself. But I'm not going to say this in a diplomatic way, messing up your own boundaries, because now you have clients and you want to make sure that they're taken care of, and you think they're going to be your best friend.
But you always have to put yourself first, or you're no help to anybody else.
And I say that not because I always knew better. I say that because I didn't know better, and it needs to be pointed out that that's a thing.
Exactly. It's not something that usually comes first when you're learning your path. It's like something.
And it's certainly not
it's a lesson.
It's certainly not what feels juiciest when
Right.
it comes to you as intuitive guidance. You're like, and then there's that thing she said, but I don't know what to do with that. So, I don't know. I'm just okay, whatever. I like the other part better.
Right.
All right. So we're launching our the second round of our memberships. So we're still a very small, intimate kind of group, and it is the Queen of Your Inner Realms circle. But we're launching that with a free masterclass experience that will start on September
4th.
Is it 4th? I
Yes.
thought I was wrong. September 4th. Now you'll remember it, even if I don't. And I wrote it like a billion times yesterday. But that is the link that is in the chat here. So just go to the comments and take a look and grab that link and sign up for that. And when you do sign up for that, you're going to get my other freebie that I have going right now, which is the ultimate guide to rocking your Mercury retrograde. Because why? Why let it suck? Why let you feel like you've been hit by the cosmic bus?
Perspective, because there's so much to be grateful for during retrogrades.
Yep, because we are in Mercury pre-shadow. So I only offer this a couple times a year, that guide. So you'll get that free when you sign up for the Unleashed Masterclass. All right. We have been on a little longer than usual.
Wow.
Just about 40 minutes now.
It's good conversation though.
Good conversation. And please feel free,
Comment.
hashtag replay and, continue this conversation, because you never know who it's going to help. Right. So thanks for showing up for us. Thanks for showing up for yourself. And thanks for showing up for the collective. Okay. Love you all.
Love you. Bye-bye.